Okay, so we are live, I think, and with sound. Yes, I know that was the issue. Sound is on. So we are live and it's working on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Twitter also. So let's see if I am available on Twitter also or not. I'll see that later. So I think sound is okay now. If sound is okay, then just comment below that if sound is right or not. Um, okay, so let me add my screen so that we can start. Screen is now added, and I will keep eye on the chats on the right side on my secondary screen. And here we go. Okay, people, so we are going to start with very simple thing, which is setting up Laravel or PHP using the Docker. So right now, what we are going to do is we are going to start with creating a Docker container, first of all, using the Ubuntu image. Then we will move to the Docker file. And if time allows, then we will also going to use the Docker compose. And we are going to make everything smooth and with just one command. So we are having a lot of things to do. So first of all, I'll create a directory. So now you can see there is nothing here. Maybe I can zoom this for you like this. And here, if you can see, I can create a new directory called uh, Docker learn. Okay, that's simple. And now I will go inside the Docker learn and then open this with VS Code. Now, I will love to use the VS Code, but since I have recently started the use of Fleet, now what is Fleet actually? So it's just like another editor, just like VS Code, very fast, very simple, but created by JetBrains. You know about the JetBrains? JetBrains are behind Android Studio, PyCharm, various amazing editors. So I have just opened this. On the left side, you can see this is the panel. This is the Explorer, and I can just use my normal, you can say, key bindings to get started with my terminals like that. So in this terminal, first of all, I will say, what are the containers running here? So a lot of containers are running here, which I don't want. So first of all, I'm going to remove these. And for that, I will open the VS Code because this is for my Bitfumes website where I have the compose. So I will say compose down. So this is the level we need to achieve with the PHP and Laravel. And you can see this Bitfumes website is a Laravel website. And I'm using this Docker compose to set it up and to have all my local development. Okay, so if everything works fine and if you are excited, just comment below and let me know if you are enjoying this or not. And if you have a specific question, just write it down. And don't forget to subscribe to Bitfume's newsletter, which is absolutely important. Cool. So now let's go once again. So close the VS Code. Once again, see how many containers I have. So now I don't have any container. I can just maximize this terminal for you so that look it will look nice for you. So 18 is good for me. Very nice. Clear. Everything is clear now. So what I can do is, first of all, I say, hey, Docker images. Now, Docker images are really the fundamental thing in Docker. We use that image to create the container. Now, we use image, that means all the instructions how to create the container will be inside these images. That means what we will going to have inside this container will defined by these uh, images. But right now we have a lot of images. I don't want to use these, so I will say, hey, remove image. So RMI, and I will use this command, which will actually get all the IDs, these image IDs, by saying Q command and then passing out here so that it will remove all the images. And that's what I want. So now if you see here, there is no image. If you see, there is no container. Let us start with obviously creating a new container. So I say Docker run, and instantly I say, hey, I just want to create a Ubuntu container, but I want to interact with it. So I add the flag of I and T. I stands for interacting, T stands for TTY or terminal basically. So where you are going to interact in terminal. And after this, I have the image name. So Ubuntu image. Now you say, Sardak, we have removed all the images. Yes, but let's wait and see what's going to happen when we provide an image which is not locally available. Now, I'll say bash. That means on the terminal, I want to start a bash. So if I run it, if I hit enter, you can see it says that, hey, unable to find image. Obviously, we don't have image. Now it has downloaded the image from Docker Hub. Docker Hub is like GitHub for Docker images. Now we have that, and now we are inside a terminal of the Ubuntu container. It's a container. Now, if I open another terminal and check for how many containers I have. Now I have one container. If I check for how many images I have one image. Now, what if I exit from this container? So I press Control D, exited from this container. And if I see the image, yes, image is still there. But if I check for container, it's there, but it says that, hey, container is now exited. And see, I have used the A flag, which says, give me all, whether it is running or not. If I remove it, it says there is no container running. So we can start this stop the container? So we can simply say Docker start and provide the ID, which is this. So copy and paste, Docker start. Now it's going to start, but if I see it says up for 2 seconds, it's now started, but how do we interact it? So to interact with a running container, we say Docker execute, once again, interactive TDY, the ID of the terminal, ID of the container, and then bash. It's exactly simple. Instead of run, I say exec. Instead of the image name, I'm providing container name or ID. You can also provide the name basically. So here's the name, bold cement. Okay, so you can see now I am inside the container. Cool. So these things are really nice. But whenever I run the command, if I say this command, it's create the container again every time. So this means if I now see, I can have two container now. I don't want to do that. So what I can do is, first of all, I remove the container, and just like before, I use the AQ flag. PS means showing the container, A and Q give you the IDs, and RM for removing the container. So now I have removed all the container, whether it's running or not. So even this container is also gone. So instead of using this command, I can say, hey, give me RM. That means once I exit from the container, just remove this container. So you can see it's, is it like this? Yeah. So now you can see if I have the list of container, whether it is running or not, you can see it says one container is running. But once I exit from the container, there is no container. That's the real power of this RM flag, this one. Okay, so we got the point, like how to create the container, how to create a temporary container. But we want to host something. First of all, we need to see how we can set up the Nginx. So let's once again go to Bash. I'm just getting this RM flag. And here, first of all, you need to do apt update so that everything is now updated to have all the repositories. Great. I can see not a lot of people are commenting, so I encourage you to comment below for any specific thing you would like to uh, ask me. If you have any question, anything would be appreciated. So just go and comment below. No issue. Okay, so that's really nice, and I can see how my secondary screen is working, which is good. Cool. So YouTube is doing good. 16 people are watching right now, and on LinkedIn, 7 people. That's good. Cool. So here I have done apt update on the Ubuntu container. Now I say apt install Nginx. It's a pretty simple thing if you know Ubuntu thing. It's not a Docker related, but yeah, we are doing all these things inside the container. Okay, so we are done. We have installed the Nginx, and let's see Nginx is running or not. So if I say version, yes, Nginx version is, wait, what happened? So now Nginx version is not showing here. What happened? So maybe I say services Nginx status. Service Nginx status. Nginx is not running. So I can say, hey, start it. Now it's started. But how do we verify that Nginx is really started, and how we can use the localhost 8000 kind of thing? Okay, so I need to get out of the container to show you one amazing thing. So let's get out, and remember, since we have used the RM flag, it's going to remove the container once we go out, which is okay, but I don't want to do that because I need to install the Nginx once again. It's a fresh new container if I create. So now I will remove the remove flag and once again say apt update. But before doing all these things, when I create the container, I say, hey, I need to connect the port, and this is going to be port 80 of my machine. The first one is always the machine thing, where you are running the Docker, and colon second is the port inside of the container. Okay, so this is port 80 for port 80 of inside of the container. Now, to make things really simple, I'm going to use 8000 of my machine and 80 inside of the container so that I can run the Nginx and show you how it's looking. Okay, so now it says like this because I need to just use P flag for port. That's good. Now apt update. And once apt update is done, I can say apt install Nginx with a white flag. This is good. Why don't use Alpine Nginx? That's a really good question. So yes, Alpine Nginx image we can directly use, and we will going to use it if we will reach to that compose level. Right now, I just want to show how actually you can take a container and set it up for your need. Once you know the basics, what you need to do, then you can go to the real specific images instead of installing things inside of the Ubuntu container. So now Ubuntu container is ready, and I say service nginx start, which is started. And that means if I now go to my local host 8000, it should show me the nginx page, which is really nice. Now, if I say stop, and it should remove the nginx page. Now, this is really, really nice. Okay, that's good. But if we create a PHP file, is it going to show me the PHP file? Now, this is really a tough question, because now what we need to do, we need to say, hey, Vim, but do we have the Vim? No, we don't have the Vim. So let's install Vim, and yeah, you can use anything. You can use Nano, you can use any editor if you like. I like to have the Vim. Cool. So Vim, and I say, hey, go to var www html, and then here I want to create an index.php file. Okay, here, first of all, create a PHP tag, and then say echo hello world, and save this file. Now, what do you think? Is this going to be served? So if I say nginx start, it's not served because we need to edit the nginx file. Okay, so Francisco is here. Wow, that's great. Thank you, Francisco, for joining this live stream. I thought I can do some preparation before we go live on your channel, on your amazing Docker and interview related not question, interview related YouTube channel. So, people, if you are interested in real Docker content, I'm just starting. So, these things are basic, but if you want more advanced, go to Francisco's uh, YouTube channel and check his profile here on the comment section on the YouTube. Okay, so let's go and edit the nginx file. So here, if you see on this nginx file, if I can go down, first of all, I need to say, hey, I also accept index.php file. This is real Docker too. Yeah, okay. Now, that's good. Now, next part is we need to enable the Nginx for using the PHP. Now, we can say, hey, we want to use this, plus we want to use this, and that's good. It's now enabled for PHP. So I say service nginx -t, which says nginx -t, just to test everything, but it says index.php is not good. Unknown directive index.php. Why is that? So let me see. Okay, so index.php and index, it should be good. Let me see if I'm doing anything wrong or it's absolutely right. Okay, so this is good, but maybe it should not be. Huh. It could be the reason because we don't have the PHP in our container. That could be the reason. Okay, so we can include index.php, but right now Nginx says that, hey, uh, it's okay because it's on the third part. I don't know why. First of all, we need to say index, then index HTML, index.php. That's bad. Anyways, Nginx is working. It says I don't have any issue with your configuration. Now I say service Nginx restart uh, service PICE. Okay, so restarting. Is it going to accept? No. Now this is the problem because we don't have the PHP installed in our container. Now, yes, you can use the PHP image. We will going to use it, but right now I just want to show you how to set up everything here inside single container, but then we will go multi-container. Now, install PHP in Ubuntu. Very basic steps I'm doing. That's very, very simple. So let's use any command. It says, first of all, you need to update, then you need to install something, and it should be easily available. Wow, is it so simple? I can't just verify these things are there. Okay, now things are becoming really easy to have. So apt-get install, if you want to install any, we will going to do these things if required. But right now, a lot of things we have to do. Yes, if you use the PHP image, you don't have to do all these things. And now we have the PHP available. So let's see what our Nginx says. Nginx still says that 502 bad gateway. Um, Maybe I should try to restart the Nginx again and see if it is working or not. No, it's not working. Maybe we need to visit the Nginx settings one more time and see what we are doing. So it says localhost 9000. It seems good, but what if I use this one instead of localhost? So my PHP is 8.1 and it should be run PHP 8.1. Okay, so let's restart and say vim run PHP. Oops. Are we using any volume here? Because if you don't use a volume, create this file inside the imperial container that will once. Yes, Francisco. So uh, this is what I'm going to do after I show how to set up PHP and Nginx. This is pretty basic, no Laravel till now. It's just a simple index.php file right now. Once we are going to up and running a simple index.php file, then we can move to the real Laravel project and connecting the volume things also. Anyways, so service PHP status. Okay, so PHP FPM status. What's that? See, things are really not that good. It says PHP is there. PHP 8.1. Add. Maybe that's why this is creating the issue. Who? Anyone has any suggestion? Okay, so maybe apt install PHP CLI, apt install configuring. No, not this, not this, not this. What's the issue? The issue is basically PHP is not recognized inside the container. Although if I say PHP version, which is here, it's showing me. So I have not done the PHP installation in a proper way, I believe. So I'm trying, and once again, service PHP status, service PHP FPM. Maybe I can try to install PHP FPM. Let's see if it is. So basically with Nginx, you don't need the full PHP. You just need the PHP FPM, by the way. Maybe you don't have a CLI. CLI is there, I believe. That's why I can see the PHP version. But P 8.1, no, a lot of nodes. No, 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 no. So PHP 8.1 FPM status. Oh, so here is the thing. I got it. The struggle you are having now is the real reason of the second part. Exactly. Now, so see, PHP FPM is there, which is saying like PHP 8.1 FPM, and it's not running. So I should start it. Now PHP 8.1 is running. So now if you go on the run and the PHP is there and PHP FPM dot sock is also there. So if I go inside this, you can see PHP FPM dot sock is not a directory anyways. So we have this file right now. So if I now go to Vim Nginx default, and this time you can see we have this file available in our container. So everything is good. So one more time, Nginx restart, and let's see if it is running the PHP. Yes, you can see now we have hello world. This is good. This is amazing. We have made this file, which is here inside this var HTML, and we have an index.php file. We can even try to have h1 tag here inside this and close this h1 tag. Now try to see if it is really doing the job or not. So yep, we have the h1 tag. So this is how you can make things available, run everything inside the container. But we have done a lot of things inside a single container. That's not good, which Francisco was telling that you should not do anything permanently inside of the container, because once you lose the container, you're losing everything. What this means is if I just get out of the container, and if I see that I have the containers, and if I by mistake or manually remove the container, then what's going to happen? If I create another container, we need to install Nginx, we need to install PHP, doing the FPM thing, setting up Nginx, everything we need to do manually. That's not good. So what we need to do, we need to take everything from our local, connect that to the container using the volume thing. Okay. So yes, Anand, yeah, we are now working with the volume. It's better some days if you show us things in Windows OS system uh, all over the world. So, bro, the point here is Docker. Now, Docker is exactly simple in any platform. So, whether I'm using Mac, Windows, Ubuntu, or what's that? The new one, NIM, new, I don't know. So, whatever operating system it's going to be, it totally doesn't matter. Everything will work on every platform. So good point, but let's continue. Okay, that's the point of Docker. It's agnostic. Cool. Francisco is backing me, replying and taking all the responsibility of making people happy. Okay, thanks, man. Let's go. So this time, instead of doing all these things here, I'm going to create a Docker file. So it's going to be a Docker file, and remember the name has to be very, very specific. If you don't want to specify the file name, so Docker file, the with a capital D and everything else is small. I'm going to now create a new Docker file, which is basically going to have what happened here. Just a minute. Okay. So basically going to have everything we need. So what we need, we will say, hey, from Ubuntu image. Now people say that you can use the Ubuntu Alpine, different version of images. Yes, we can do, but that's a standard level. We need to see how things work. Once things are working, then we should optimize it. Cool. So what we do once we create the container, what we do, we first start and say, hey, apt update. Now after that, what we do, we say, hey, apt install nginx with a y flag. No question asked. Now, once we have the nginx, what else we want? We want the PHP to be installed, or basically PHP FPM. So run apt install PHP FPM. Now, what after this? Once installation thing, we should start the nginx and the PHP, both of them. Okay, so how do we do that? So we need to say cmd, which is basically the command we are going to run, and we say that service nginx start and service PHP 8.1 FPM start. Now, is this going to work? I'm not sure. I need to see. That's the power of creating the Docker file. So once you create the Docker file, you can use this file to install and setting up everything for your image, and use that image to run the container. So now instead of using this, first of all, I will create a new image. So right now, if you see the images, I just have the Ubuntu image. I'm going to remove this image. Okay. Now, if I see that how many images I have, no image. Now I'm going to build an image. So create a Docker image using Docker build, and you can press dot to say that, hey, I'm going to use a Docker file, which is the default file name, and get the instruction from this file to create a new image. But I just want to tag this image also. Tagging means naming this image. So I'll say, hey, this is my, let's say, PHP. It's not just PHP, but PHP setup. So maybe PHP setup. That's good. So let's run it, and you can see it's doing all the job we have told it for this. I forgot to add the Y flag here. That will be maybe a blocker here, but let's see. So yeah, it's just stopped at this point. Now, there are some things you should not able to do inside this Docker file. So what we can do, we can create different containers or different images for different other things. So basically what I want to say that, hey, uh, this is I need to do. So even if I try to run the in creating the image using this thing with the Y flag, we will be stuck at this point, because remember it was asking for some kind of time zone things when we were installing. So that's why you can see it's keep on waiting and waiting, and after some time it will be timeout. So what we have to do, we have to get it out from here. We have to first create a directory called PHP, move this Docker file inside this directory, move it. Hey, what happened? Oh, I created a file instead of a directory. Okay, so let's create a directory called PHP, move this Docker file inside it. And now, instead of all these things, I will just say, hey, I'm going to use an image of PHP. So go here in this Docker and search for PHP image. It's a PHP official image. And now I'm going to use the PHP image. And we can say, hey, I need the PHP FPM or PHP anything, but you will find out the tags. So this is how you can the create the Docker file. So we can say PHP 8.2, simple. So instead of Ubuntu, say PHP 8.2, and yeah, you can say FPM also. That's good. That's enough. We don't need to do anything else. We don't need to install anything. We don't need to run anything. That's okay. But what if we run this? So now let's say, hey, I just want to create a PHP image using this PHP file, and I will say PHP is the directory name. So this is the name of the image I'm going to create, and this is the directory which hold the Docker file. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. So now it says something bad, 8.2 fpm from PHP colon. Oops, I forgot the colon. Okay, so once again, starting out, and now you can see images. We have the PHP image. Okay, so let's now run this PHP image instead of our Ubuntu. So PHP cool 8.2 is here. That's really nice. But just the image is not good. We can even say that, hey, I need the PHP image. Why should we need the Docker file? Because now we want to connect the file which we are going to create, which is called index.php file. So let's create an index.php file and echo out one with uh, Docker with PHP. Okay. So, yep. And now I just want to connect this file, and this file should be out of this. It should be in the root, not inside the PHP. Okay. So I say, hey, copy, go out of this directory, which is the PHP directory, and there is the index.php file. Move this index.php file to creating a source file and then uh, move that there. Okay, then I say work dir. Now, work dir means working directory. When you enter into the container, where should we start? We start with work dir, which is source. Now, we have made changes in our Docker file. This simply means that the image we had is redundant. We don't need this image. We need some updated image. So remove image, and we can use the name we have here. So we can remove it. If we can remove with a force, that means if there is a container, remove the container also, and then remove the image. So Docker images, oops, images, great. Now the time is to build the image once again. Okay, now it says copy is having issue. The issue is, I think, this double dot, maybe like that. We need to go up a directory. So going up a directory should be easy, but it's not taking that. Hmm. So electricity is gone, so you can see my face will be having different colored. No issue with that. Okay, so this should be good. It says no file available for copy. What's that? Oh, so is it like this? Good, good, good. Thanks, Anant. And reason for not putting the Docker file at the root level, because I'm going to create one Docker file for Nginx also later on, and that's why I prefer to have Docker file inside dedicated directory. Maybe what you can do, you can create a Docker directory and name this file like PHP Docker file, Nginx Docker file, but then you need to name it uh, like what we have. Anyways, so let's get it back. So here we are. No, Anand, this is also not working. Am I doing something wrong? Let's see. So if it is this, then I need the index.php. It seems like something new. I don't know. Now, why is not working? So I just practiced it today, and it has worked. Wow, very, very nice. Nothing is working. Anyone who can help me? Oh, electricity is here. Okay, so if I go here, hmm, so it will be like this, maybe. checking. Even Francisco is checking. That means I am confident that if I'm doing something, if I stuck somewhere, whew, I'm not alone. Okay, so this I have done this before. Um, so if I go here, I need to go one directory up, and then I can do everything. What if I say like this? Huh, see, something happened. Something happened. I don't know. So if I now see Docker images, there is a PHP image. So if I run this image, and yes, I am inside the source directory, and that's what I say that working directory is source. That means whenever you start the container, directly go inside of the source directory, and if I see the content inside it, it says Docker file. That means when I say this, it actually linked this PHP directory to the source, not the directory above. So maybe Docker does not allow you to outside content security reason. Oh, okay. But I remember I did something to do these way. Oh yeah, I remember why it's not working. You are right, Francisco. So what happened is let's just move the index.php here, and if I now see so oops, I need to create the image. So what happened is when I was doing this, I was using the Docker Compose, and in the Compose I use that going out of that directory. So okay, no issue, we can still do our job. Creating image once again. Docker run with the PHP. Going inside inside of the source. And now ls, we have the index.php. Wow, that's good. But to run the server, we need the nginx directory. Nginx image, nginx we need running. Yes, we can install the nginx here, but that's not we want. We want a special nginx Docker file. We can do that inside another Docker file. We can call it nginx Docker file, and we can name it like this. But when we create the, you can say when we create the image, we will have to specify which one we need to create. So from this time, I'm going to use the Ubuntu. Now you will say, why you are not using the Nginx? You can use it's preference. So apt update, run apt install Nginx, and cmd service Nginx start. Now these things are good. Let's try to create the image. So build. This time the tag is Nginx, but we also need to define the file. So let's get the help. So we need to define which file we are going to use. So file is like this. Okay. Okay. So let's get here. And now I need to say file is Nginx Docker file. Am I doing right? We will get very soon. And is it like this? Once again, I'm stuck. Require exactly one parameter. One parameter. So I did that. Docker build file. So I need to check which is the thing. Okay. So here we are, and file is this, and from the same directory I need to specify. And now it says Docker file. What's the name? Name is right. Docker file. Is it the name is correct? If I try to copy the name, paste it. Hmm. Ooh. File is an option, but have to put before the path. Really? CD into. Oh my god. CD into. But it should work. It has to work with. You are right, Francisco. But I think if we specify that there's a PHP directory we have and find it inside it, so maybe I need to prefix here PHP and then Nginx file. So maybe it would be like PHP Nginx file and then dot. Uh, yeah, this was the mistake. Anyways, we are with the images. Now we have Nginx image. Okay, so we have the Nginx image, we have the PHP image, but point is, how do we connect these two images and how we can run the file we have index.php from Nginx and tell Nginx that, hey, get the PHP from different container. So these things we need to figure out. But before that, since we can easily create the Nginx, we need to now test it. So with the Nginx hash, and now we should see localhost should have worked. Okay, it's not. Maybe I can see service Nginx status not running, starting. So standalone Nginx is working, but not with PHP. This means we need to work with networks. Now, you understand that we need the Docker file to create the custom image. Now, to create the container and connect the container with the ports with different container, we need to create the a network inside of this Docker thing we are creating. And then once we have everything, then we can easily add the services inside the compose file. And that's why we are going to use the uh, compose. So I will go inside the root and create a compose dot YML file, and this should be in the root, not inside the PHP. So that's why I feel like I should have used the VS Code, not this fleet. Some things are not messed up. You should not do experiment in your live, in your YouTube or live coding. Do not try different editor which I'm doing. Anyways, so let's go and start with compose. What is compose? Go docker compose. Compose is a way to connect the container, create the container, set it up, define the port, everything in a single file. It can create multiple containers. So there are various things to do that, and you can find out here. There are many features inside it. You can create the container, how you can start writing the compose files, a lot of things trying Docker compose like this. So here we have okay, so you can define things. So let's start. I don't want to waste your time on the documentation. You can easily read it. So first of all, I need to define the version. Version is 3, which is the latest one. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Now, services. First of all, this is a YAML file, so we need the space in a tab space. There is no bracket kind of thing. Okay, what says values required? Oh, yeah, I'm giving value. Wait, fleet, wait. Anyways, So, people, if you have not yet subscribed to Bitfume's newsletter, go to Bitfume's newsletter and try to subscribe to this newsletter. And if you have time, just reply to this Bitfume's newsletter survey. Don't forget that it's cool stuff I share every week. Anyways, which service you need? We need the PHP. That's good. That's a very important thing. We need the Nginx. That's also good. Yeah. So these two things are required right now. But as I said, we need to connect these PHP and Nginx together. So first of all, let's define things. So in here, inside this PHP one, I need to define how to get this PHP container from where we should get it. So we need to say, hey, I want to create the container using an image, and that image will be PHP colon 8.2 FPM. Remember how we defined it inside the Docker file? Like that. Now, once you define the image, you also need to define the port, because now using this port, we will connect this Nginx and the PHP inside the same network. So ports will be 9,000, 9,000. Once again, left one is from your outside of the container, right is inside of the container. Okay, and make sure to provide like this. Okay, next is network. Remember, I told you everything should be connected with network. Now, the network we will say is Bitfume's network. Simple name, nice. Okay, next. Remember when we said that, hey, in the Docker file, I want to copy everything. Now, instead of copy, why can't we directly link the file from the local files to the container files? In that way, when we update on the local, that will be updated inside the container. So I say volumes is also going to be dot and the source. So whatever I have here, copy everything to the source, and we need to provide the colon, which is once again right one is inside of the container, left one is on our what's that, local. Okay, so that's good. And any comment? No, Francisco is still here. Cool, thanks man, you are really nice. Okay, people are watching it, and I'm really glad that people are really taking part here, and I really like this help and this support. Thank you everyone, thank you for being here. Cool, let's move forward. So we have defined these three things, and all these things we should have to define. We need to define here inside the Nginx also. Once again, how we get this Nginx? We should get it from the this Docker file. So we can either use the image, or we can use the file, the Docker file, to build the image. So I'm going to use uh, this Docker file called Nginx Docker file, which is Ubuntu installing Nginx. You can once again use the image. I'm not doing because I want to show you different ways to set it up. So I say, hey, um, build from, we need to say, hey, there is a PHP directory, and inside that there is a Nginx Nginx Docker file. Use this file to create the image. Okay, so it is like this. Everything is fine. Now, what next? We need to define the networks. Obviously, the ports. So let's get with the port of 8000 with 80. Then we should say volume. Now you will say, why we need the volume in Nginx? We want to use the volume inside the Nginx so that Nginx can read the file and serve you. And for PHP container, we need the files, we need the volume so that we can interact manually if we need to run anything and do anything inside of the container. Okay, so one more time, say that, hey, go with the source. And finally, the networks, which is Bitfumes network. Okay, finally, we are done with these two things like PHP, 8.2 FPM, Nginx. But remember, we have said that there has to be network. But if I go and see not networks, you can see there is no network called Bitfumes. So we need to create network. When we create network, let's see if there is any comment. No comment. That's good. No issue. Okay, so when we create the network, we need to define the network name, which is Bitfumes, and we need to define the driver also. So driver is going to be bridge, which is defined, default one. Don't worry about this. It's always going to be like this. So it has to be in the level of services, but it's moving part. Okay, now it's good. And similar to this, we should also have no, I think that's it. Anyways, so let's check out. Oops, let's check out any container running. So lots of container running. So we should remove all the container. So remove containers, Docker PS. Good. Now Docker images. We have two image. So remove the images also. PHP, Nginx, both. Now we should have no images. Now let's say Docker compose and say up. When I say up, it's going to read this compose file and create these containers, the PHP container and the Nginx container, and set it up all these things which is required on our Docker setup. So it's pulling the PHP. Now it says, hey, Nginx file not found. This one is not available here. So what I say that, hey, there has to be PHP, and inside the PHP Nginx Docker file. Once again, I am inside the PHP directory. I need to go out of the PHP directory, and now I should run the Docker compose up. Hmm. Unable to prepare path. These things are always stuck. Building from this file. How I did it previously. Okay, so maybe I can say just um, since we are not using that Nginx, sorry, PHP one, so maybe I can use this Docker file to define this and move this index file in the root. Okay, so now we have the root compose PHP directory with the Docker file, and it should not be PHP, it should be Nginx. Now I can change it. So hey, get build from Nginx, and now run the compose up, and yes, it's working. So Docker Nginx is running, Docker PHP is running. Open the new tab, see the images. Two images are there. You can see two images. One which is PHP 8.2 and Docker learn PHP 1. This is the name the compose has given, which is up. But Nginx is exited. Why it's exited? Because see, what happened is any container will exit if there is nothing running. So right now you can see we said on our Docker file that, hey, just go and start the container. Instead of this, go and start Nginx, not the container. Instead of saying this, we simply say that, hey, go for Nginx, and instead of just starting, make it globally daemon off. What that daemon off means, instead of moving this into the background, run it in the foreground. So if it is running in the foreground, then Docker will say that, hey, something is running in the foreground. I'm not going to remove anything. So if I say any running container, I can remove all the running containers, and I can remove any running images, and like this. And I can now use once again Docker Compose up to run everything and check it out one more time what we are doing here for only container. And now you can see this time both are, oh, so this one is still exited. So maybe what we can do, we can get inside of the container, Docker execute, run it. Oh, it's not running fast. We need to start and then get inside. Oh, it started and it exited again. So what we can do, it exited. Why it exited? Now it says fpm is running. Daemon off is not available. Okay, it should be there. Nginx is good. Um, Maybe we can do something like this. Get it out. Remove the images with the F flag. Now compose up. Okay, I think you are missing the context and Docker property for the build part. Mm, David, can you explain more, like which build? Oh, so I think you are talking about the building of the image. That could be the reason. Um, but I'm now using the compose, so we will see that. Still, engine next is stopped. That should not be stopped. Maybe I need to use this. Okay, removing one more time. No container. Remove the container also. Okay, so no container, no images. Docker compose up. Let's now see what's going to happen. I believe it should work. Yes, both containers are running. Great. Now, since both containers are running, I can just go inside of the Nginx and see if Nginx is running. Obviously, it should be running. That's how it's up. But just to verify, yes, Nginx is running. So what I can do now, I can say apt install vim also, and I'm going to set it up for running the PHP. Once it is done, then we will install the Laravel and we will be up and running with that. So Nginx sites available, go to the default one, go inside of this, and the third level we can add, hey, there has to be index.php also. Now enable the location for PHP. I'm going to include this snippet, and this time it is going to be localhost 9000. Now instead of localhost 9000, I will give the container name. which is PHP. Okay. So I can open new terminal one more time and see the container name. So container name is this Docker learn PHP 1, which is the name. And here we have to use that name. This should resolve to the IP address of the container if we are defining. So these two things we have to do. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these things so that we have to just copy and paste it every time we want. Now, let's get out and restart the Nginx. Restart Nginx. Oh, so we restarted and we lost the container because whenever it restarts, whenever Nginx stops, it just kill the container. Now I need to see that container is here. Docker start one, which is good. Now once again exit inside this Nginx sites available default and everything is there. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen on the Nginx. So Nginx is there. That means now I can go on var www.html and create an index.php file. But remember, we have the file inside the source. So if I can go inside the source, we have the index.php file. Okay, so let's go on our Nginx default and change the location, because here location is this, and now I want the location to be source. And I can get out of the container and I can say, hey, restart the container. It's going to stop it, restart it, then we should see the PHP file. If everything is fine, then okay. Cool. So let's see. And yes, Docker with PHP. Boom. We are working. We are doing absolutely fine. PHP is there. PHP is connected through the network. Now I can show you the network. So if I say, hey, network is here, you can see that we have Docker learn Bitfumes network. Now what we can say, hey, network inspect inspect this one. Now this network is actually containing two container. One is PHP container, another is Nginx container, and that's why we use this name, which resolved to the IP address, which is this one. And that's how Nginx container will be able to access the PHP and able to serve this file for us. Okay, what we are going to do now, we are going to create a Laravel application and see how we can run it here. Let me take a sip. Uh, Saman, Mina, bro, I need your help. Can talk to you? Yes, you can talk to me. Just DM me on Twitter. I'll going to reply you. Sure. Okay, let's get it back. We are happy because we are able to connect things easily. Cool. What next? Now, instead of this index.php, now one thing is, what if we change it? So we update this file, we go here, reload, and it's really doing. That means everything is working so fine that our container is isolated from the code. The code lives in my machine. Container is just using these code to serve us, and we can easily interact with it. We don't have to worry about the setup, and that's how powerful this is. And my local machine doesn't have the Nginx. I don't have the Nginx. So if I go Nginx, no, Nginx is not available in my local machine, but we are able to serve it. Cool. Now, what next? Next is very simple. Create the Laravel application. So composer, create new application of this, and I want to have the application in the root directory. So let's have it. Oops, I need to give the name. Sorry, that has to be the name. I'm really bad at these things. Okay, so I need to give the test as the name once again. Cool. Composer, compose. Yeah. So it's really, I really get confused. Initially, when I started using the Docker, I was like Docker composer up. And I was like, why it's not working? I'm writing right. Docker, correct. Composer, correct. Up, correct. Why it's not? What's the problem? Like struggling and watching all the tutorial, reading Stack Overflow. Why composer, Docker composer command not found? I was like, what happening? And after 1 hour, 2 hour, I realized that it's not composer, it's just compose. Anyways, so things happen, and these are funny things. We always remember our struggling days. Anyways, so you can see now test is here. Okay, everything is good. But we need to tell our Nginx that, hey, Nginx, use this Laravel application. And to serve Laravel application, we need to change the path. That means simply we need to go inside of our, uh, what's that, Nginx container. So I can say, hey, Docker execute Nginx. Now, inside this, I say, hey, go inside this, a lot of things, and I'm going to give you shortcut to edit this. Even we can separate this Nginx file in our local and link it to our container, not doing this again and again. So see, in our container, if I go inside the source directory, since we have just linked all that we have in the root to our source, we should also get the test. That means our Laravel what's that, project is also available here. Okay, this means that whenever I define the source, I can say, hey, go to the go to the source, then go to the test. And as a Laravel thing, you need to go inside the public to find the index.php file. And everything else is going to be the same. Now that's good. And get it out. And now say restart of this container, which is going to take 10 seconds. I don't know why. I have read somewhere that Docker is giving 10 second of time to stop something like that. I didn't remember exactly, but it's good. Anyways, so see, everything is working. Both containers are up and running, and we should see the composer. We should see the Laravel homepage if everything is working fine. Go reload. Boom! You can see now Laravel is here. Laravel homepage is up, running. That's amazing. That's really, really powerful. Hmm, this is good. I think if you are following me from the start, we had a lot of struggle initially, some path, some things I forgot. Francisco helped me a lot, and that was really good. Also, some people also helped me, like Anant. Sorry, Anant helped me, and more people are here. Great. So, guys, this is how we set it up. But you'll say, Sarthak, this is very very simple. This is what. Yes, we have this level, but it's nothing is going to work. Nothing is going to be there. Slash test is not working. What's happening here? Okay, so I think 1 hour is done, but I can come tomorrow once again to continue this live stream so that we can use Docker Compose file to not just have the PHP and Nginx, but also MySQL. And remember, trust me, adding the MySQL is a little bit trickier. It's not that simple. It's a little trickier. Also, having that MySQL database connecting from Table Plus. That means Table Plus will going to connect from your Docker MySQL database. That means that MySQL, the database that is inside the container, will be connected through the Table Plus. But that database will be in your local, but accessible from the Docker. Oh, I think I confused you. That was my intention, so that you will be back tomorrow for my live stream. Wait, what kind of black magic was that? No storage permission required. Nice. Yeah, so nothing is there, David. So everything is here. It's running up and running, and as I told you, it's very very minimal. It's not going to work. No, no MySQL, no database yet. There's no route working. That's a simple thing. That's not related to. Uh, that's just Nginx thing. I can easily edit it, but I don't want to go inside the container to edit the Nginx file. I want to just have the Nginx file here somewhere, maybe inside the Nginx directory, and link that to the container so that whenever I need to change anything in the Nginx, I can quickly do that. Okay, so I believe you got some insight of how you can use the Docker and how powerful the Docker is, as the David says in terms of David's word, I can say it's kind of black magic, which I really like. And when I first realized that how powerful the Docker is, I was so happy. I was so happy, and I get inspiration from my friend Francisco. He helped me a lot, and we are planning something big. Uh, so thank you everyone for joining this live, and tomorrow same time, same place, and much advanced thing with the Docker. Thank you, everyone, for enjoying this, for attending this live, and I appreciate your time and effort to watch this because I'm doing, but you are watching, and sometimes you are like, "Hey, why you're not doing that? Oh, this is not like that. Sarthak is doing wrong. Sarthak is doing great." It's like that. I can feel whatever you are facing. Um, Thank you very much. And once again, if you have not yet subscribed to Bitfume's newsletter, go and subscribe to Bitfume's newsletter because every week on Wednesday I share something amazing from my personal life, from whatever I'm doing on this Bitfume's way, Bitfume's thing, what I'm learning, what the new things in the world, tech world, everything is there. Okay, so got your point. Get your code, get your coffee tomorrow, get your laptop ready, fully charged, so that we can make this Docker setup for Laravel to the next level. Until then, see you tomorrow. I'm going to end this live stream, and nice to see my face here. Okay, so that's great. And who else was there? It was a good live for me. I'm doing more of these kind of lives, more of the Docker content here in this Bitfume's YouTube channel, and more of the some different things. What happened here? Boom. What I'm doing? Okay, I have to link this, but as I'm lazy sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to end this live once again, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.